Hello, I'm Bob.
Hello, I'm Hannah, and we are Kitchen Zoo.
And today's story is Little Red Riding Hood. Now, just let me put my red cloak on.
Bob, what are you doing?
Well, I'm getting ready to play Little Red Riding Hood.
No, I'm playing Little Red Riding Hood. Wait.
But I've got a red cloak and everything.
You would be much better as the wolf.
Oh, the wolf. In that case, I'll need some wolf ears. To make some wolf ears, you will need one piece of paper or card, a pencil, a ruler, some scissors, some sellotape, and something to colour in with. Begin by drawing 2 lines a ruler's width apart on the bottom of your paper. These are going to be your headband. Now, draw 2 big triangles in the space above. And inside those triangles, draw 2 smaller triangles. These are going to be your ears. Now colour in your triangles and your headband whatever colour you like. Wolves are often grey or black or brown, but you can colour them in any colour you like. And then cut them out. You might need a grown-up to help you. Once you've coloured in your ears and your headband and cut them out, you'll need somebody to help you. Size the headband to your head and stick it together with sellotape. If, like me, you've got a big head, you might need a little bit more paper. And then stick your ears with sellotape to your headband. And when you're finished, you should have something that resembles this. Wolf ears. Now, I think we're ready for our story. Once upon a time, there was a little girl. Wherever she went, she wore a red cloak with a hood her grandma had made her. So everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. Even her mother.
One morning, her mother called to her, "Little Red Riding Hood, I'd like you to take this cake to your grandma on the other side of the deep, dark woods. She isn't feeling very well and her eyes aren't what they used to be, and I'm sure she'd like a visit." Little Red Riding Hood was only too pleased. She hadn't seen her grandma for a long time.
When her mother had packed the cake in a basket, Little Red Riding Hood put on her red cloak, picked up the basket, kissed her mother goodbye, and skipped out the door. "Now, go straight to Grandma's house," her mother called after her. "The woods are dangerous, Little Red Riding Hood. Follow the path, don't dawdle, don't talk to strangers, and be careful." With her mother's voice ringing in the air, Little Red Riding Hood skipped out of sight.
It was a lovely day. The sun was shining, the birds were singing, the bees were buzzing. A beautiful butterfly swooped past Little Red Riding Hood. She followed it, forgetting everything her mother had said, off the path and into a patch of beautiful wild flowers. The smell was wonderful, so she decided to pick some for her grandma. As she strayed further and further from the path, searching for the best flowers, she didn't notice a dark shadow approaching her from the deep, dark wood. A dark shadow with big, glowing eyes. A dark shadow with big, pointy ears. A dark shadow with big, sharp teeth. The dark shadow stepped into the light to reveal a wolf.
Well, 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 a little girl. What are you doing in the deep, dark woods then?
I'm on my way to see my grandma, who lives on the other side of the deep, dark woods, replied Little Red Riding Hood, surprisingly unfazed by the wolf. I'm taking her this. I just stopped to pick some flowers. And, oh, look at the time. It's getting late. Please excuse me, I must go. And with that, Little Red Riding Hood set off at a run back to the path and on her way to her grandma's house.
The wolf thought for a moment. A cake, you say? Grandma, eh? The other side of the wood. He mused with a chuckle and sloped off back into the shadows.
The wolf knew a shortcut to the other side of the deep, dark woods and ran as fast as he could. He arrived at the door of Grandma's house and knocked at the door. Oh, that must be Little Red Riding Hood. Come in, dear, called Grandma. Now, Grandma's eyes were not what they used to be, and before she could see who it was barging through the door, the wolf gobbled her up. The wolf then helped himself to Grandma's wardrobe to disguise himself, picking out a pink, frilly, floral nightgown and a matching nightcap. And he grabbed some of Grandma's knitting to be getting on with while he waited and jumped into bed.
A little while later, there was a knock at the door. The wolf pulled the covers over his nose and called out, "Who is it?"
It's me, Grandma, Little Red Riding Hood.
Come in, dear. When Little Red Riding Hood opened the door, she could hardly recognise her grandma.
But Grandma, your voice is so croaky.
Just a little under the weather, a touch of cold.
But Grandma, what big ears you have, said Little Red Riding Hood as she edged closer towards the bed.
All the better to hear you with, my dear.
But Grandma, what big eyes you have.
All the better to see you with, my dear.
But Grandma, what big teeth you have.
All the better to eat you with.
The wolf jumped out of bed and chased Little Red Riding Hood. She realised now it wasn't her grandma, but the wolf who she had met earlier in the woods. Help! Help! Wolf! Help!
Luckily for Little Red Riding Hood, a woodsman was passing by Grandma's house and heard the commotion. He used his axe to burst into Grandma's house and grab the wolf in the nick of time. He made him spit out Grandma, who was understandably a bit shaken by the whole event, but thankfully still in one piece.
Grandma! Little Red Riding Hood cried. I will never stray from the path, or dawdle, or speak to strangers ever again.
The woodsman tied up the wolf and took him back into the deep, dark woods, where he wouldn't cause any trouble and he wouldn't be able to eat anyone's grandma.
Little Red Riding Hood and her grandma shared the cake she had brought, and despite the ordeal, it was still in one piece. She had learnt a valuable lesson. And Little Red Riding Hood and her grandma were never bothered by wolves again, and they both lived happily ever after.
That was Little Red Riding Hood. What was your favourite bit? We'd love you to draw a picture of your favourite bit and send it to us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram at Kitchen Zoo. And we'd love to see your wolf ears too. Bye-bye. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.